So good morning, Carol and John and Kelsey and Tom. If that is who is joining us this morning, um, we're going to try something a little new here. I'm gonna hit allow to talk for all of you so that we make this more of a, as Michael called it, more of a brainstorming and focus group session so that we can all share information. And so I have allowed you all now. I appreciate the fact that you've muted, but I'm just going to do a little overview here as to what to anticipate. One of the cool things about these sessions is that it really can be more, not just a presentation by Michael, but as all of you probably have participated in chamber um, events when we were in person, and we look forward to the day that we can do that again. As the part of Social Hub and understanding what we can do to assist our members. In the past, what we've done is being able to actually have individuals talk about what their needs are and what they are looking for. And so it becomes more of an interactive um, conversation as opposed to just a straightforward presentation. And when we have, for some of the town halls and stuff, and we have so many people, we literally have to have people chat. But the fun thing about these sessions, I think, is that they are really more of, kind of like I call it free consulting. So with that, Michael Raymond, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business and then queue up for videos? And I got to say, I'm
Yeah,
excited to learn about that myself because at the end of
great.
this, I want to talk a little bit about what the chamber wants to be doing as far as videos and member spotlights
Sure.
moving forward.
Could you allow me to share my screen?
I will
Oh, okay.
certainly.
I have some
I
slides.
believe that you're a panelist, so you have that ability right now.
It says it's disabled.
It's disabled. All right. Well,
So
we will get you back so
yeah.
that you can.
And in the meanwhile, since Patty did introduce me, I'm Michael Raymond. I'm with Imagine Road Marketing Solutions. And you might remember attending some videos or some webinars that I've done in the past that have been specific about video marketing, because that is my specialty area. But one of the things that I found is that my clients needed more than just specific help about how to use video in their marketing. They actually needed much more of a broad type of strategy and help with that. And so this presentation is on just that. It's on, you know, looking at several very simple strategies that you can implement without spending any money on marketing and advertising, which is always a great thing. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah,
Um,
I was going to say, I just made you a co-host, so you should
Great.
have all of the
Yeah,
control.
great. And so I got to, so I just have to move this panel down. So as Patty had mentioned, I mean, this is set up as a focus group. So every once in a while, I'm going to be asking questions, on what do you think? How might you be able to integrate this into your own, business or industry, or do you think that you would actually see, some revenue increase with this specific strategy? Um, and so at any time, feel free to stop me and interrupt. In the past, I've been fairly one-sided, as far as providing information, but this is going to be a little bit more interactive. I do understand it's early, so I brought my coffee. Um, I'll take a sip. So, and we'll get started. So, so if you're like, and let me just explain how this will go. So today, this session, we're going to get into 3 specific strategies. And then at the end of these 3, I'm going to give you some homework to do. And so and the homework assignments will be, there'll be 2 things that I'll be sending to you by email. One of them is a sales and marketing audit that you can use for your business, kind of see where you're at. Another is what's called a conversion evaluator. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. And those will both be sent to you to your email, through the chamber, when we, uh, after this session. And then next session, we'll get into 4 additional strategies. And so, and also today, what I'm going to do at the end is talk to you about a software program. It's actually something that I'm providing to everyone here that's participating. You don't have to, actively participate, but everyone here basically, will be able to ask to get this. It's an assessment using this proprietary software, and I'll talk to you more about that at the end of this session. So anyways, so to get started, if you're like 99% of the business owners that I speak with, you may often feel lost or overwhelmed. I mean, there's so many different things that you need to consider, in terms of marketing. I mean, you got websites, you got social media, you got SEO, email marketing, Facebook, and a lot of these things are changing constantly. You got video marketing, of course. I can't leave that one out. And video, is still king. I mean, it's growing and growing, trying to figure out how to use that effectively. But let me do you a favor right now and completely remove that overwhelm from your life forever. Is anyone here familiar with the 80-20 rule? And I'm going to say that I see all of you are okay. So there we go. I see all your hands up. I don't actually, but I'm going to say everyone knows it. And it actually, the 80-20 rule, has a couple different versions that I've heard. But for business owners, what it means is that 20% of what you do every day is generating 80% of your total annual revenue. So in other words, you're only doing a few things daily that makes you most of your money. And I can tell you specifically what makes up that 20%. And that's all you really need to focus on after today. So first of all, again, I'm Michael Raymond. I'm president of Imagine Road. And if you haven't done so yet, and I'm not sure if you were able to do this, but if you want to download, these strategies are all based and laid out in my book, which is called Succeeding in Hard Times. And so you're welcome to download a copy at imagineroadbusinessacademy.com. And like I said, it goes over the 8 strategies that we're going to be covering today and next week. And so it'll kind of give you kind of a nice run. The other thing too is, I'm not sure, Patty, did you have a chance to send out the workbook? Because I did, and I'm sorry that I didn't do that previously, but we'll get a copy to you. I have a complimentary workbook that will allow you to kind of, take notes and actually, you can take notes on what you heard today, I guess, and you can use it for the next session, but I'll get a copy of that to your email as well. So there's 5 areas that make up that 20% that I was talking about, and it's leads, conversions, transactions, pricing, and profits. So when I meet with clients or I do full presentations where I'm going through all of the different strategies, I find them more than, and that's the reason for the title here, is I'm able to find them more than $30,000 in less than 90 minutes. And I do that by focusing on 8 strategies in these 5 areas as they relate to my client specific business. So let me show you why these 5 areas are so critical. So these 8 strategies, they make up the foundation of what we're going to cover, over the next 2 weeks. They correspond to the 5 critical areas that you need to be focused on, regardless of what business or industry you're in. So certainly, how you apply these strategies, it's not like a cookie cutter type of thing. I've heard that, someone once said that to me, but because the way that you apply them will depend on your specific goals and what you're trying to accomplish. So for your industry, and usually what I do is when I meet with people individually one-on-one is, like for instance, right now, I'm working very closely with dental laboratories. So I had a dental lab back in the early 90s. And so that was my first career. And so what I'm finding is that some of the same issues that I had way back then, 1992, are the things that they're having problems with today, And so when I meet with people, we look at these strategies and we try to decide, okay, which ones are the most important for me right now. And so, of course, like today, what we're going to do is we're going to get into, some of the main ones, how to make advertising work for your small business. We're going to talk about joint ventures, and everyone knows a lot about joint ventures, but we're going to look at it from a different angle. And then we're going to look at how to have a downsell type strategy and what that would entail. But when you look at these yourself, think to yourself, which ones, I guess, would work for me most. But again, we're going to kind of go through all of them. But before we do this and get into that first strategy, I just want to show you a tool that I work with. So this is called a profit growth calculator. And so what this is, I guess I can throw this out as a question. And again, I know that, I haven't really, I'll just throw this out as a question, and maybe Patty, maybe you can answer, but how many, do you know the exact number of leads and sales you've made over the past 12 months, for instance? I mean, do you have all of that, specifically documented somewhere? And if you don't, I mean, I'll just use that as I'll just throw that out, but we don't need a response. But what we'll do is we'll plug in some numbers for kind of a make-believe business. So let's say that your business generated, we'll say 1,000 leads in the past year. And so your average conversion rate was 25%, and you can see that right here. And let's also say that customers bought what you sell 10 times throughout the year, and they typically paid on average about $100 per purchase. Just keep everything kind of nice and symmetrical. And finally, let's say that your profit margin per sale is about 25%. So now notice at the bottom here, it's $62,500 annually, is your basically what you're earning. But look what happens if we simply increase each of these 5 areas by, and again, these areas all coincide to those 5 critical areas that we were talking about. So if we simply increase each of them by 10%, you would see your annual revenue almost double from $62,000 to over 6 figures. And this is actually 10% is the average area that most other like business coaches work with. And there's nothing wrong with that. 10%. I mean, again, when you're looking at small places, and you're doing this, this 10% here, 10% increase here, that's all about that exponential growth. So you can see that, even though there's such a small amount, it really adds up to a tremendous increase in revenue. But watch what happens, like if you could increase each of the 5 areas by 50%. And so your business would skyrocket from $62,500 to almost $500,000 annually. And you might be thinking, wow, 50% gains, in these 5 areas, it would be next to impossible. Well, the truth of it is, when you make the adjustments that you need to do, and some of the things that we're gonna go through, it really is child's play, and it's just a matter of adjusting and seeing things a little bit differently. So like again, if I put out a hypothetical question on how are you currently generating leads, for instance, because that's one of the biggest areas that business owners, it's always one of the first things, but you might reply, like word of mouth, which is still a big one, surprisingly, especially for, I know I've worked with attorneys in the past. It's a big one for attorneys and for a lot of professionals, but and others, of course, but you could also say social media posts, video marketing, YouTube channels, website funnels, Facebook ads, Google ads. There's tons and tons of different ways that we generate leads. But whatever your method is, there's something important that you just have to understand. So here's the key to successful marketing. And you can write this down. No, I'm just kidding. I actually have to move. My slides get in the way of the view, the pain, of people. So so the key is you have to enter the conversation that's taking place in the head of your prospects. That's the key. Another way to look at it is to be able to address the problem, the number one question on your prospect's mind at just the right time. And timing is the key there. So how do you do this? It's actually really simple when you understand some of the fundamentals of marketing. The conversation that's taking place in every prospect's mind revolves around two major points. There's a problem that they have and they don't want, and there's a result they want, but they don't have. Now, believe it or not, there's actually a marketing formula that we follow that takes these 2 points into account, and it spits out a message that's so compelling it practically forces your prospects to buy what you sell. And it's called the conversion equation. Has anyone heard about this? And maybe some of you had. I'm not. It might be known by different names. So have you heard about this, Patty? Oh, okay. Conversion equation. Great. So the way it looks is this. It's the interrupt, the engage, the educate, and the offer. So the interrupt is your headline, which means it's the first thing that someone sees when they visit your website, they read any of your marketing collateral, or they hear you speak. So when someone asks you, like, what do? You give them your elevator pitch. That's your headline. And it has to address the problem that your prospects have that they don't want. So the engage is your subheadline. And this is the second thing that your prospects see or hear. It has to address the result that your prospects want, but they don't have. So the educate is the information that you provide, either verbally or in writing. And that presents the evidence to your prospects that you and your product or service are superior in every way to your competition. So here's the thing about it. This is a big thing about it. Most businesses aren't different from their competitors. That's why you have to innovate your business to create what we refer to as a market dominating position. So you must make your business unique, and it has to stand out from the crowd. It has to take your prospects, it has to make your prospects say to themselves that they'd be absolute idiots to buy from anyone else but you, regardless of price. And finally, there's the offer. And the thing about the offer is you have to create a compelling offer that makes it so irresistible that your prospects just can't turn it down. But here's another critical fundamental of marketing. Nowadays, I mean, it seems like it gets worse and worse, over time, but because of the saturation of marketing messaging these days, most prospects have become numb to most of it. And in fact, there's a training that I'm going to provide you a link to that's very powerful, that talks a lot about this. And I'll be providing it to you at the end, but it's 73 minutes, but it talks about why the things that we're doing wrong, why a lot of the things that you're doing from a marketing standpoint are wrong. And some of it has to do with this idea of the saturation of the marketing messaging. And it actually looks into the whole idea of how our overuse of jargon, for instance. We've become, because we have such a short amount of time to really provide our message to other people, and this started with commercials that started becoming like 30 seconds in length. The time required to deliver a message became so short that people and marketers started using jargon all the time, which really should be avoided. And so the training will get into that. But here's the thing. So following our conversion equation, you can overcome this. But even with this powerful tool in play, it still will take multiple touch points before your prospects will buy what you sell. So for most businesses today, it takes anywhere from 20 to more than 100 touch points before a prospect makes their buying decision. But following the conversion equation, it reduces the touch points to somewhere between 5 to 12 points of contact. But here's the key. Most businesses, they don't follow up with their prospects at all. And so I don't know if anyone can, I'm going to say, I can't really see any of you, but I'm going to say that I was guilty of this, and I still see this all the time. And part of it is because I think, you know, a lot of times I feel that I'm being a pain. So quite frankly, if I, like there's a certain feeling you get like if you feel like you're being too pushy, and so sometimes I just feel, and sometimes there's another rule that's promoted, and I'm not sure if it's true or not, but the idea is that if someone's ready to buy, they'll buy, but until that point, just don't bother with them. Spend your time and energy working on people that are ready to buy what you have. Well, it's not true, because I mean the idea is that you need to still continue providing them with valuable information, and there's going to come a time when they are willing to pull the trigger, and hire you. And so we're going to talk about that in a second. But with the conversion equation, using messaging that follows that formula, it reduces the touch points to somewhere between 5 to 12 points of contact. And like I said, most businesses don't follow up at all. So it leaves this opportunity for any business that does follow up to position themselves as the dominant force in their industry. But in order to have the opportunity to get your message in front of your prospects 5 to 12 times, you have to find a way to collect their contact information. And so that's the purpose of your offer. And that's the difference, as we'll talk about, between an incentive offer that gets people to buy right this minute and an informational offer, which is providing some value added content, something that they can use to be able to make an informed decision on whether to hire you or not. So here's the buyer's journey. So for most businesses that offer something that only appeals to the prospects we call now buyers, prospects that are ready to buy, to make an immediate purchase. Now, unfortunately, now buyers make up less than 1% of the total number of prospects that are in the market to buy what you sell. So these businesses, they typically offer prospects like a free consultation, a discount, a coupon, a free assessment, a complimentary quote, or it's not the biggest mistake. I mean, it's a biggest mistake of all when it's used as the sole offer, and that's call us. So if you're using like call us as the sole offer, then that's a big mistake, because again, you're only appealing to those people that are right this minute, looking to purchase something. So let's look at the first strategy, and we'll kind of get into some of this and kind of show how it applies. And this first one is the one that I always go through first with my clients, and it's because it's the most important. And it takes all of that ideas with the, the conversion equation and messaging, and it puts it into practical use. One of the most basic forms of advertising that all business owners use for the most part. I mean, I'm seeing, once in a while you would see people without websites, but for the most part, everyone has a website. So for most businesses, all of their marketing material, their website, their business card, they all list their phone number as their sole offer. So again, don't get me wrong. I mean, you have to have your phone number on your website, somewhere, but to have that as your sole offer, is a mistake. Because it only appeals to that 1% of now buyers. In it really, again, in order to get in front of them, 7 to 10 times, you have to be able to capture their contact information. The remaining 99% of viable prospects are investigating and gathering information about what you sell. They're searching for information because they want to determine who is offering the best value. You see, here's the thing, that the prospects, they don't shop price, they shop value. And I'm sure you know this. The only reason prospects will consider price is that most businesses don't give them any other value proposition to consider except that. So remember what I said a moment ago about making your business unique, creating a market dominating position. Most businesses don't do that. And since they and all of their competitors, they look exactly the same. So prospects are forced to shop price. So with these fundamentals in mind, let's see how your website stacks up to them. And this is something I'm going to be sending to you by email. And I mentioned it earlier. It's called the Conversion Equation Evaluator. And so this form, and even, like you can provide this to your web developer. You know, it's basically just a great way to make sure that you're focusing the messaging on the right areas. But it's called like I said, the Conversion Equation Evaluator. It measures 5 areas of your marketing, the 4 areas of the conversion equation, as well as the overall look and formatting of your marketing. So you can use it for your website, any marketing collateral you have. And like I said, I'll be sending you a copy. Now with this form, when I use this to evaluate most websites on a scale of 0 to 5, with 5 being the best, most sites rate a 0.8. So marketing must rate at least a 3.0 or higher to be successful. And by successful, I'm referring to making you money. So in the case of most websites, this tells me these websites don't compel their prospects to take action. So let me show you, before we move forward, I know that, I know that you're all muted, but are there any questions? Because again, this is supposed to be kind of more of like a interactive, and I feel like I'm not engaging any of you. So are there any questions? Does that all make sense so far?
Feel free to I've now set it up so that if you wanted to, technically you can unmute yourself. Hey, John, I'm going to ask you to unmute just to test the system here.
There we go.
Or Julie, if Julie's on instead of John. I sometimes come in and
I'm here.
I'm Rob Clayman. So,
okay.
John, are you there?
I am.
Perfect.
Okay, great. So yeah, so John, at any time, feel free to, to jump in. Basically, I'm trying to ask questions. I'll have a couple coming up, and so I'd appreciate, any feedback. So I know it's kind of early, but so here's a website that we just revised for a child psychologist, so you can see what I mean. So here's the child psychologist's original website, and this is typical for this profession. 99% of his colleagues' websites look exactly like this. So you can see the generic headline here: Parenting Advice and Resources from Dr. John Smith. So let's look at the third conversion equation component, which is educate. So in the doctor's original website, because he's trying to appeal to all prospects, his video, it says his video is down here, and basically it says this: I want to welcome you to Remarkable Parenting. You'll find tons of great information here with hundreds of pages of articles. So let's compare this site with the fundamentals we just discussed. So first, you have to create a market dominating position. So this doctor actually created 9 of them. He has 9 specialties. Individual areas of treatment. So for example, let's say he decides to start with the top condition on his list, with emotionally disturbed kids. Now these are kids that yell, scream, and constantly have a highly belligerent attitude towards their parents. So they scream at them and are known in some cases to threaten the parents. These kids can't be reasoned with, and these poor parents have no clue how to deal with this situation. And I'm really glad now that my son is 12. So I remember, 7 years ago, I was here. So what do I do in the grocery store, to get him to leave or to be quiet, So here's what this doctor, he needs to do. Forget the website completely. The doctor needs what we call a squeeze page or a landing page. This is a single page that's online, and it specifically addresses only this one condition. So what should this page look like, and what would it say? Well, remember, the second fundamental, you must enter the conversation that's taking place in the head of your prospect. There's a problem they have, but they don't want, and there's a result they want, but they don't have. And this is where we implement the first 2 components of that conversion equation: interrupt and engage. Now the headline again is the interrupt, and it has to address the problem they have and they don't want. So what he has to do is he has to have a headline like that, like this, because he's trying to be all things to all prospects. So basically, instead of choosing one specific area, he's trying to be, he's trying to like, it's kind of a shotgun approach. He's trying to do everything. So he has to help parents that deal with adolescent problems, in all of these other 9 areas, teen pregnancy, peer pressure, and on and on. But here's the squeeze page or landing page that we created for this doctor that did just that. So notice now the difference, the headline. Are you sick and tired of the yelling, screaming, and belligerent attitude of your child? Now, would you agree that that kind of is you agree that that would be is a lot more specific and kind of hits the exact problem head on? And now for the engage, which is a subheadline, it has to address the result they want, but that they don't have. And so notice it says, now you can discover the secrets to controlling your child and instantly restore the peace and quiet in your home. Now, again, wouldn't you agree that that, answers the problem, more specifically? So as a parent,
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
I have a question. So, and I know some of our folks in their business that are on right now. So if you're what I hear you saying is that you want to not do a shotgun, you want to do a rifle.
Right.
But when obviously they are the audiences they deal with have a variety of
Sure.
issues or
Definitely.
concerns
Yeah.
or sales their sales value proposition
Mhm.
that they want to get in front of them.
Mhm.
So this squeeze page or the landing page. So if I'm buying advertising,
Mhm.
you want to buy and just kind of taking this all the way through. What you're suggesting, instead of having individuals come to your site, that you create a series of landing pages and then you
Yeah.
bring them to the landing page and then
Exactly.
you buy keywords based upon, and I'm just using that as one
Sure.
advertising way to do it, but you buy keywords based upon that particular problem and then take them into that landing page. Is that what you're suggesting?
Exactly. And thanks for, asking to clarify that, Patty, because I've talked about this even with my video marketing webinars I did. It's called message congruency. And so the idea is that, your promotional, so the ads that you put together, will have specific keywords, and it'll bring someone from that ad, whether it's Facebook ad or Google ad or whatever, it'll bring them from that point, directly to the landing page that has the same messaging. So the messaging, on that specific service or product, will all line up. Now, this doesn't mean that, your website shouldn't, that you shouldn't have a website that has all of the different things that you provide, but it's just that your marketing, your messaging, should all have this more of a narrower approach. And the thing about it is when you do it that way, you actually get a lot more, exposure. Like, so your Google ad ranking, for instance, will increase. Your cost per click, actually decreases. You just get a higher ranking because the algorithms can see that, that everything is tight. The messaging is all, again, congruent is the word, we like to use. But and so some people like they like to, there's a seasonal thing, so there's certain product lines that they might have, that have some seasonality. And so sometimes, maybe they're focusing on one area over another, but for the most part, yeah, it's exactly like you said. Does that answer the question?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, great. Okay. So so here's again, I'll kind of move on then. So here's the way that the doctor's script would change for that specific video. As a parent, are you struggling to gain control of your child's attitude and emotions? Is your child yelling and screaming at you while often displaying a belligerent, sometimes threatening tone that no matter what you do or try, you just can't seem to get under control? So my name is Dr. John Smith, and I help parents like you every day learn the techniques that will solve these frustrating and destructive behavioral patterns once and for all. In fact, let me prove it to you. enter your name and email in the box to the right, and I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques that will immediately restore peace and quiet in your home. Now, I think that might get, more prospects. I mean, again, it's very specific, and it's about this one, specific problem. But I think, would you agree that is more specific and kind of would get more prospects to respond? You can just raise your hand. So, okay. So it brings us to the final component of the conversion equation, which is the offer. So if you look at the doctor's original offer, it was for a free consultation. So the only prospects that will accept that, and again, in this field, just like in chiropractic, there are a lot of people that are in an emergency situation, like if I was looking at a chiropractic website, this is common for them as well. And usually I won't see a chiropractor until I'm like disabled. I can't move, and I'm in pain. So I need help, and that'll work for me. I mean, I'll call this number. But on an average, again, they're less than 1% of the total number of prospects that are looking for immediate help. So when your offer is to call me, that basically says, and here's the other thing about it. When you put a call me down, it basically says, let me sell you to your prospects. So these days, and I'm probably not much different than anyone else, but, we're so used to getting nonstop sales pitches these days, that we resist calling anyone with every fiber of our being. Most people these days won't answer their phone unless they recognize the caller ID. And I actually, I'm kind of weird that way. I like to pick up the phone and try to, but I'm not as busy as I should be, I guess, but for the most part, I know that if I pick up the phone, I think out of 5 phone calls I get every, or whatever, I would say most of them are people that can't speak English or well. But I mean, but anyways, but this type of offer is called an incentive offer. And incentive offers really only work for common purchases, emergency situations, and impulse purchases. So again, remember, most prospects, they don't buy until they have been exposed to your messaging somewhere between 5 to 12 times. So if you tell prospects to call you, and most won't, how do you keep marketing to them? This is the point that I made, a couple slides back. If all you have is, call me, they come to your website, they see it, they don't call you, and then, you have now there is something called retargeting, Facebook retargeting, and so I mean, you can set something up where you pay like a Facebook paid ad campaign, for instance, that will retarget those people that come to your website, but for the most part, I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, how are you gonna, except for through retargeting, I mean, how are you gonna continue marketing to them? So you can't really. And so the secret to effective marketing is to offer what most prospects truly want, which is information, and the right information. That's important. So look at the last sentence in the child psychologist video script. Enter your first name and email in the box to the right, and I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques that will immediately restore peace and quiet in your home. Now, this offer is zero risk to a prospect, and it offers them something that they really want, which is a solution to their problem. So they can receive it by simply providing their first name and email address without having to speak to anyone or be subjected to any type of sales pitch. And so that's why the offer on this doctor's landing page, it says, learn the secrets to gaining and maintaining complete control of your child in less than 60 seconds. So that is, to me, I mean, I think you'd agree that that's a highly compelling offer that would appeal to a majority of the prospects that are directed to this page. And you can see now why this is called a squeeze page or a landing page. There's no navigation buttons on this page to distract the prospect. In fact, there is only one action they can take to enter their contact information. So otherwise, what they have to do is close the page completely. And if they do, that is when we can redirect them to the doctor's main website to see if there's something else that might grab their attention. So the informational offer, it provides them with proof that this doctor can actually get them the results they're looking for. And then within that information is an offer for them to schedule a consultation with the doctor, which now they're more likely to do. And so let's look at these numbers for this doctor's original website. So he could easily generate 300 or more leads per month using a pay-per-click campaign on Facebook. And those leads are then sent to his original website. And then he'll average around 10% of those leads or 30 prospects. They'll see his offer for the free consult and will call to inquire about it. Now, notice I said inquire about it, not requested, because out of that 10% that will call, only 10% of them will actually consent to the consultation. So that equals 3 prospects. Now, fortunately for most professionals like this doctor, they typically convert 100% of the prospects they get in front of. So those 3 prospects will more than likely become patients. So now note that out of 300 leads, the doctor winds up with 3 new clients, which is the national average today. And that is 1% of all leads generated will typically convert into a new client. But now let's look at the doctor's new landing page. First of all, we'll leave the number of leads at 300 per month, because that's not going to change. The landing page isn't going to change the amount of leads coming in from that ad that they're running. But one of the questions that I would ask, and I guess again, this will be kind of a hypothetical question, but would you think that this new page would increase the number of prospects that will actually request this doctor's secrets? So again, we're switching gears now. Now the offer, instead of call me, and set up a consult, now the offer, it's an informational offer, to request this guide, these secrets. But do you think that more people would request the guide than people would request the consult? What do you think, Patty?
I think that you'd have more people requesting the guide.
Mhm.
So what is the next process from a lead strategy standpoint? So they request
Right.
information, you get their email address, and
Yeah.
now you are emailing them about the following up. Okay, you got our guide. Would you like
Right.
blah, blah,
Yeah,
blah?
and I'm actually going to get into that, so yeah. So we're kind of going through it now. So the answer to the question is yes. I think also, that more people will be requesting the guide. And some people would say that there would even be maybe 50 to 70% more people would request the guide, than a consult. Again, because people don't want to be, they want to feel sure that this doctor is the right person to hire, and they don't know that yet, and so before they talk to him, they want some certainty, of that they're making the right decision. So but what we do is we like to stay really conservative with our numbers. So let's just say that 20% request the new offer, and so that would mean that 60 prospects would receive those secrets and actually see for themselves that this doctor's methods really work, which is the key. And once they do, you know, we would probably also think that maybe more people, once they receive this guide, would request the consult with the doctor, right? And if you said yes, I'd agree with you. And so originally it was 10%. So again, you might say that maybe 50 to 70% more people, after seeing the guide, would request the consult because now they know that his methods work. But again, we're going to stay real conservative, with our numbers, because I just want to show you how this would work, as far as numbers. So because that's kind of what our purpose here is to show, how the strategies would increase revenue. So we'll leave the conversion rate the same, this 10%. So out of the 60 prospects requesting the doctor's secrets, 6 of them now request the consult. And again, we'll assume that we did originally, that the doctor converts all 6 of them into patients. So that's an additional 3 patients per month. And now we'll say that the doctor only charges $800 for his services. So even though in reality it's typically 3 times that amount, but 800 times 3 new patients is an additional 2,400 per month, which is an annual increase of $28,800. And that's obviously a dramatic increase in revenue considering we're being ridiculous. Yes,
So I just want to clarify.
sure.
So what you're doing is you're replacing the basically call for a free consultation
Yeah,
with a less invasive
right,
opportunity.
sure.
But then once they give you their email,
Yeah.
then you're sending them the free consultation.
No, well, so what you're sending them is this guide, and in the
Right, no, you
guide,
send that, but then
yeah,
after they get the guide, what
right.
happens?
So in the guide, there's an opportunity for them to call, for a free consult within the guide, so,
Okay,
and I'm not sure, I might not have said that. I should have, because that's an important part. So we're still actually, the doctor is still offering the free consult, but he's doing it after the step of providing information to prove
and
again.
providing credit,
Oh,
he's gaining
right.
credibility.
Is gaining credibility. Right, exactly. Um, so again, so with the 28,800 annual revenue increase, we can see that, I mean, that's an obvious, just that little bit of a change, making just very slight changes to his website and creating more of a landing page, you can kind of see how, how effective that is, at increasing the revenue.
So Michael, did you have him create landing pages for each one of his specialties?
I believe he did, so it's the team that I work with, actually did this, so I wasn't involved personally, but I would think that he would. I mean, that's what I would advise my clients is to have each of the specialties on that he wants to promote, have that same landing page, for that. So, and again, they can click out of the landing page and then return, to the main website. Maybe, so it's just, again, it's all about message congruency.
Mhm.
So, yeah. So we're kind of, we're getting it, and it always takes longer than I think, to get through these, so it was probably a good thing that we didn't have a lot of, interactive. And I run this as a weekly mastermind webinar as well, where we only get into, 1 or 2, but we're going to try to get through this next one, fairly quickly. And so, because it's really important. And then next week, then, we'll send you out some of the information and, as far as those things that I mentioned, and if there's any specific strategies that you'd like to get into to make sure that we cover, maybe you can email me, for which ones you'd like to cover. And you can tell me at the beginning of next week's session as well. So I think what I'll do is I'll provide a screenshot for you so you can see the 8 strategies, and then you can just tell me, let's make sure we get through these specific ones. But let's discuss joint ventures. And the reason I want to just run through this is because, this is a very important one. And if I don't know if any of you have established joint venture partnerships. Do you have any, Patty? I mean, since you're the only one.
Well, I mean, when you think of a chamber, we're all about connections
Right, exactly.
and
Yeah,
partnerships.
sure.
So obviously our chamber members
Sure.
are really value add. I mean, and Michael, you're an example of a partnership for
Sure.
professional development. And
Exactly.
then we partner with whether it be the city, the county,
Yeah, yeah,
our other economic development
exactly.
areas. So yeah,
Sure.
we're all about partnerships.
Exactly, yeah. And and they don't always have to be, set up, with a revenue share agreement, but we're going to talk about, ones that are, where there's some kind of a revenue share arrangement, but it doesn't always have to be that way, but for our examples, we'll use some of those terminologies, because sometimes there's in-kind type, share arrangements, or, but JVs, involve 2 or more businesses that decide to form a partnership to share markets or endorse a specific product or service to their customer base. And usually, like I said, usually it's under a revenue share arrangement. Sometimes it's more of an in-kind type of thing. The key to creating successful joint ventures is to find partners who service the exact same types of clients that need or want what you sell. So let me give you an example, and I'll use one we are both familiar with, which is a florist. And so in the wedding industry is actually one I was involved with for some time in several different roles, so this one is actually a good example for me to explain. So one of the most financially lucrative product lines for a florist is providing flowers for weddings. So the average floral bill for a wedding often exceeds $3,000, but what we discovered about florists is they fall into what we refer to as an event chain. So an event chain simply refers to a series of businesses that customers purchase from in a specific sequence. So for example, a wedding will never take place until an engagement ring is purchased from a jeweler. So jewelers are at the forefront of every wedding chain. So once the young lady accepts that engagement ring, this event chain kicks into high gear. So first, the young lady knows exactly where she wants to get married. So number one on her agenda is to look for a church, chapel, or synagogue where she wants the ceremony to be held. Second on her list is a wedding planner. And weddings are a really big deal, and often women like to use the services of a wedding planner. So next up, she wants to secure the venue for a reception, and she knows that venues book out months in advance, so locking that in is high on her priority list. And then, comes the wedding dress, and so she wants that perfect dress. So next then is the florist, and the bride-to-be will want to begin selecting her floral arrangements for the wedding and the reception. And then after the florist comes the wedding cake, the printer, we have, if they decide, a limo, a DJ, a wedding videographer. That's the big one, since that's what I do, so hire me. No, a travel planner, for the honeymoon, the hotel, catering, and so on. So the event chain, you can see it just goes on and on. But here's why this is so important. Every business above the florist has the potential to endorse and send prospects to the florist. So now, unfortunately, the florist has no control over that flow of prospects. So every business above the florist controls the JV relationship. So it's critical the florist creates such a compelling offer and relationship with these businesses that they feel obligated to send prospects their way. But here's what's even better. The florist controls the prospect flow to all the businesses below them in the chain. And by establishing specific processes and procedures to make sure their customers use those businesses, the florist can negotiate compelling offers with those business owners as well. So consider these numbers. So let's say like the florist cultivates a JV relationship with at least one of each business throughout this entire chain. So staying ultra conservative with our estimates, I think that you would agree that since they have no control over the flow of prospects from their business, it seems likely to me, that they could obtain at least one referral each month from just one of the businesses above them. Would you agree with that? Okay. And could you also agree that, conservatively, that since the florist controls the flow of prospects to the businesses below them, that they could easily send at least one referral to each one of them every month? Now, keeping in mind, again, these are conservative estimates. So, I think that one per month, from above, and one per month, referring below, I think that would be pretty conservative. And again, the wedding industry is fairly, seasonal. So, certainly during certain months, there might be more activity, than other months. So since the average floral bill for a wedding is $3,000, then just that one referral per month from those businesses above the florist increases their annual revenue by $36,000. So now let's consider the businesses below the florist, where the florist controls the referrals. And we'll start with the wedding cake maker. So the average sales for a wedding cake is also $3,000, and the florist could easily negotiate a 10% referral fee. So just a single referral per month produces an additional annual increase of $3,600 for the florist. But now let's look at the printer. So the average price for a printer is $1,000. And the florist again could receive a 10% referral fee. So that single referral per month produces an additional annual increase of $1,200. And again, just to make sure, if it doesn't have to be a financial there could be a kind of an in-kind type of referral arrangement. It doesn't have to be a monetary one, so. But if we stop there, this florist has just increased their annual revenue by more than $40,000, and it's really using these conservative numbers. But the same process holds true for businesses that aren't in a chain. But just like the florist, they just have to identify partners who service the exact same type of clients that need or want what they sell. But here I want to jump to the end here because we're kind of in our last couple minutes. But so let's say conservatively, you get 3 for referrals every month that buy from you. So that's less than 1 per week. And you could say that, that would be, you could come up, depending on what you're providing, a product or service, you could say, you could come up with how much additional revenue that would add up to monthly. And then, if we take that number, we can multiply it by 12 months and see what the annual increase would be. And I mean, I think that you would agree that that could, be significant, whatever it is. So remember earlier we discussed the critical importance of creating this highly compelling informational offer that would promise so much value to prospects that they would knock your door down to get it. So here, suppose a florist offered this informational offer in their marketing: 5 things every bride should know to avoid disaster on their wedding day. So this offer would place tons of prospects into your what's called a drip campaign, which we'll get into next time, and result in a tremendous increase in sales. So, but so what I want to do is, we're in our last couple minutes, and I just want to kind of go to the end, kind of your homework that I have for you. Let's see here. I just have to jump to my end of my slide here. So I'm sorry that we didn't get through everything, that I had said. I actually, there we go. I wanted to get through a couple more strategies and also give you kind of an introduction to this. It's called the Profit Accelerator software system that I use to help business owners kind of assess where they can unlock hidden revenue. And so we'll get into that next week. But for this week, what I'd like to do, I'm going to send you 3 different things, actually, not 2. The conversion equation, which you can use for your websites and marketing collateral, along with a sales and marketing audit. And it'll be a booklet. And I'm going to be sending you a version that has like clickable, you can just click, it has clickable spaces, so you don't have to print it out. But these are for you to use in assessing your business. And the sales and marketing audit can also be helpful. So if you do decide, next week at the end of the session, if you decide to take me up on my offer to provide you with this free Profit Accelerator software assessment, then this will be helpful to have. So the other thing I want you to do is, and if you could, write this down. There's a training. It's 73 minutes, and it's long, but it'll be well worth your time because it'll give you kind of a background of what we're talking about and some of the strategies that we're talking about. And it's called Everything You've Ever Learned About Generating Leads and Growing Your Business is Wrong. And so you can find it at imagineroad-businessacademy.com/wrong. And I'll send you the link. So I'll send these things to you, Patty, and if you could share them,
Glad to send them out.
that'd be
Absolutely.
great. So, and again, it's 73 minutes long, but it really will be worth your time. And you can put it on like like if you're pressed for time, you can put it on like a faster speed. That's kind of a trick that I've learned. So sometimes they talk a little too slowly, and so you can speed up their talk. And so.
Well, Michael, we are at 9 o'clock right now. Is
Sounds
there
good.
any questions before we wrap up? And then you're going to be joining us again next week. We'll send out another Zoom link to everyone so that you don't have to re-sign up. We'll actually just send you that link for next week. And does anybody have any questions about today's? And you could just, I gave you, technically you have the ability to speak at any point, just unmute yourself. John tested it out for us before we wrap it up today. Okay,
Okay.
I guess we don't have any questions at this point then, Michael.
Great.
Anything
Sounds
else
good.
you'd like to share with us before we wrap it up?
No. So again, look for this in your email. I'm going to send you those tools, and then I'll send you the link to the video. And so if you could do that as your homework for next week. Next week we're going to get into more strategies. And if you have a chance, what I'm going to be sending you the workbook. And so if you have a chance to run through it, make sure to identify which strategies you'd like me to cover next week. And so again, we probably only have time for maybe 2 or 3. So if there are any specifically that really stick out to you that would be helpful for your specific business, please identify them, and then I'll ask you again at the beginning of next week then.
Or if you, and in addition, if you look at them and you just want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to get to Michael ahead of time as well. So
Great.
either way,
Great.
whatever works for you.
Great. You all have a great week.
Yes, thank you all for joining us. And then this will be recorded. You'll be sent this presentation link, and then this, as well as all of the educational seminars that the Chamber has, the webinars are recorded and are on our webinar archive. So with that, thank you for joining us and have a great day.